Thought I'd go live and introduce you to Eros and talk a little bit about puppy. Eros is a 13-week-old little Malinois that the gentleman that brought him to me is real happy and proud that he got him. And he's got 4 kids of his own to play with, and I made him go home for the first week or so to make sure he got bonded with the animal when he first brought him to me. Now he's back for training, so we're going to start working with him in my normal puppy development. So Eros will be he's just got a great, excellent temperament. It really does. It's real warm in here in the trailer. You can see it. And he's already got his food for the afternoon meal. So he's going to be getting, he's tired. He keeps walking into his kennel. You notice I leave the door open. So what I want to do today is kind of go over some of the puppy development and what I did. I just got him this morning. So it'd be just like if I picked up a new puppy. What do I do when I pick up a new puppy? Well, a lot of times I don't even know what I do until I start doing it. And then I realize and I start highlighting all these things. So let's talk about that. So we'll go over it now. Bottom line, a new puppy that comes into the house, you want to set up structure. And that's what you hear all the time is structure. But look at it the same way that I'm always talking about pattern and routine, right? So that being the case, the first thing we did with him is started acclimating him, getting him used to his environment. I set up his pen for him. Joker, you be nice. Joker cuffed him, that's fine. He's around Joker. Joker's doing real well with him. And now I'm sitting there yakking at the screen, so he decides he's going to cuff him, but it's not going to hurt him a bit. But the first thing I notice is you do the evaluation. You're trying to figure out the dog, right? Same thing I do. But my head's in a different place because puppies are pretty much a lot the same, depending. Drive state may be different, breed may be different, some other things. But they talk a lot about structure when you're dealing with a dog and a new dog in your home. And all they're doing is basically they're telling you to set up an environment that has consistency and pattern and routine, right? So he's already been acclimated to his kennel. When the owner took him home, he made sure that he did the right thing, and I had already given him a puppy consultation when he first came. So I told him all the things basic generalizations of things that he needs to worry about and do with a puppy. One of those things is chewing. Puppies are going to chew. So you've heard me talk about it before, I use these little chew hooves that you get $1.99 or so at the pet store, and I buy half a dozen of those, and I put them all throughout my house wherever the dog's going to have a tendency to be chewing on something he shouldn't, so that I can get the dog acclimated in the right way towards what he should be chewing on and what he shouldn't be, right? It also allows me to set up my dominance and what I expect of him in that regards, right? The word dominance it bugs me because people take it way out of context. It's almost kind of like the word socialization. Right away, people jump to conclusions when they hear these words. Dominance right away means I need to be dominant over the dog. No. You just need to have things that are consistently what you require of the animal and your expectations of him and the rules, right? The rules. This is good, this is bad, right? That's all that is. And then when we talk about structure, we're talking about having control factors in your environment and a bunch of other things. So let's go through some of that. So the first thing I did with him this morning is I got his crate and I put it in the little holding pen outside where he's going to be at a lot of the day. And I put him up there. I wet down the ground. It's hotter than heck right now. You can probably hear the fan running. So I wet down the ground. I showed him where the water was at. I made sure his bucket was full of clean water. And I basically just started showing him what was where, right? Where's the water? Splash it. And I start working on vocabulary. You want to get a drink? Get a drink. And I splash the water, right? I went and took hot dogs and kind of threw them into his crate, let him go in and grab it and come right back out the door. And you notice that door's open, right? There's no confinement with it, but I want him to be very comfortable with it. So I've got a little bone in there for him already. We've got a ball, a bone, a nyla bone. He's got what's his, right? And I'm leaving the door open because I don't want him to feel like he has to stay in there. He can come in and leave and go as he wants to until I put him to sleep for the night. And this little guy's real smart. Show him where the water's at. Right away, he's already ranging around the house. Nice, even-keeled temperament. I really like this puppy. He's going to be a good one. What's nice about it is that instead of an amateur taking the puppy home and having the puppy grow all kinds of bad behavior, he has very limited exposure to his owner that he's going to learn and grow, and they've done all the right things over this last couple of weeks because I already gave him a puppy consultation and told him all the things that they would be needing to be worked with for the basics, right? So the dog's already doing really good with his potty training. The owner was really praising him on that. He's acclimated him to the kennel. He's got that wired, and I'm figuring out that the guy's got a really good temperament, really good temperament. So this is the honeymoon period. What does that mean? That means that for the first 2 or 3 days, a week or so that goes by, the dog's going to be on his best behavior. He doesn't know any better. He's trying to figure out the world, and he's going through, but as he gets a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more spunky with his normal routine daily, he's going to start outletting some behavior that he's testing his boundaries, right? So then they start to be a little bit maybe bitey, get a little bit, they need to be maybe cuffed. Okay, you've heard me talking about cuffing. And a second ago, Joker just cuffed him, right? The puppy got in his face, and Joker went, "Row," snap, and the puppy went, "Row." Doesn't take but 10 seconds for the puppy to learn. Why? Because we got a very highly intelligent little Malinois over there. And that little Malinois figures out things real quick. So that's your first job, to set up routine, to set up things that he can start learning contextually what's in his environment. So the water bowl that you saw me showing him over there, he knows where that's at, he knows where his crate's at. I start setting up routine and pattern. So I'm taking him outside, I'm trying to encourage him to go to the bathroom, I'm putting him back, and with this young puppy, I'm also doing something else. I'm doing a lot of separation. One of the things that the owner told me about with Eros is that he has a tendency to tittle, right? To piss. And that's very natural for a puppy. And why is that? We call it incontinence. It means the dog doesn't have the strength and the muscles and everything to hold his bowels. So when he gets excited, he tittles. And one of the biggest mistakes that new owners make with their puppies is they bring them home, and they right away, when they come home or they're greeting the dog, they're right away very excited. "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you have a good day? Oh, you..." And the dog just winds up. You're talking a high energy outflow dog like this, and he pisses all over the place. He tittles. Why? Because when they're young, it's very common for young puppies to do this sort of thing. What's the answer for that? When you first come home, ignore your dog, okay? Don't give him any attention. Just in a blasé way, "Hi, Eros, how you doing?" Maybe give him a little pat, and your energy level is very low, and you just kind of ignore the dog and you walk around the house. If he tittles, fine. Don't worry about it. It's going to go away with time if you do the right things and you don't facilitate or exasperate that behavior of him tittling. Excitement is where it comes from. He's excited to see you, okay? So you ignore the puppy for the first 10 minutes of when you come home. You might want to even kind of just ignore him, and then all of a sudden, "Let's go outside, let's go potty," and you start working on vocabulary with a lot of things that you're doing. So you jiggle the doorknob. It's all contextual. Everything's contextually orientated when the dog's a young puppy like this. "Eros, come on, Eros." You say his name, you jiggle the doorknob, and go outside. "You want to go potty?" "Good boy." We go outside, and we try to talk him into going. If he goes, good boy, right? And then contextually, he's going to start learning and growing from these things. Earlier today, I brought him in, and I had some hot dogs, and I threw a couple hot dogs in there. He went and got the hot dogs, and he bounced right out. It gave him the ability to come in and out with a very positive attitude about going into his crate. There's no pressure. I didn't shut the door and make him stay in there. I just threw the hot dogs in there so he could go get them, and he did great. He ran in there, grabbed the hot dogs, came right out. I praised the heck out of him, and we were off and running, right? So some of the things you're going to work on with a new puppy is obviously chewing. They're teething, so they've got a very natural affinity towards using their mouth and wanting to chew on things. That's very natural. That's why I take 5 or 6 of those little hooves, half a dozen of them, and I put them in key locations where I am going to be all over the house, where I may be at any given time watching TV, my little end table. When I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing dishes, and there's one up on the counter. When I'm in my bedroom, there might be one on my nightstand. Everywhere that I may be with this puppy, I'm going to put one of these little hooves, okay? The reason for that is if I catch him chewing on something he shouldn't, I'm going to go over and I'm going to lightly kind of nap him on the nose. Nope. I'm going to take the object that he shouldn't be chewing out of his mouth. I'm going to pop him in the nose with it real quick. No, phooey. Throw it one way, and I'm going to right away pick him back up. In other words, get him interested in with a little bit of prey movement, teasing and being a lot of praise attitude, and getting him into the toy that I do want him on. I want him on those hooves, right? This is what you should be chewing on This is what you shouldn't be chewing on. It's pretty short and simple, right? The biggest rule with corrections with a puppy and with any dog for that matter, that your corrections should be done and over with real quick and no emotion, okay? When you get frustrated, when you get mad and you give the dog all kinds of emotion, the dog doesn't understand this and you mess the dog up. So you don't want to do that, right? One of the other things that we were talking about is that we ignore the dog when we first come home, and we do a lot of separation. And what I mean by that is we want to start establishing this stuff right away. So in other words, I don't go out there and spend all kinds of time with a dog. I put him in his kennel, I walk away, right? I go do a couple things, I come back. Talk to him when I'm walking by the kennel, right? When I'm walking by his holding run. I go back in the house and I disappear again for another 5 minutes, do a couple other things. Then I come back out. Hey Eros, what are you doing? Then I might walk in, I might praise him a little bit, maybe play with him a little bit, and then I walk out and I do the same thing. He's going to be a little bit anxiety, he might yelp a little bit because he's upset because you're walking away, but I'm going to do a lot of this, coming and going, where I teach the dog that basically I'm coming back and that there's nothing going to harm you and you're not going to die because I leave, right? Dogs have a tendency to get handler bound and handler dependency because people give them too much attention, and he's giving Joker hell. Look at him. You gonna get Joker? Huh? You gonna get Joker? So that's important that you kind of learn to think about this when you first get your puppy, that you want to start this separation away from the puppy for very short periods of time and build up on your time level and start teaching the dog to be alone. So what I did today, just out of what I had going on in my environment, we needed to go to the dump. I set up his cage, I got everything established, I got his water, made sure he knew where that was at. I wet down the ground, made sure I had good shadow spots for shade, and I knew I needed to go to the dump. So I just took off, he yelped a little bit, and I knew I'd be back within about an hour, right? I came back, went through my same little routine, and I praised him. Hey Eros, what's up, good boy. I didn't pay attention to him too much when I got back. Kind of ignored him, did my own thing, and did that little pattern of coming and going, and did that on purpose, right? Then I went out, then I greeted the dog and spent a little time with him, right? Think about this. When you first come home, he's all excited to see you, and that is one of the crucial development periods of that dog's life. What do you do in that key moment? When you first come home, he's all excited, and what do you do with the dog, right? And so you see with my little pattern that I've been explaining here, I'm trying to build his ability to get used to having me go away and come back in short intervals, right? So that he doesn't become dependent on me, and we grow strength in the animal and the puppy in that regards, right? Then we've got to worry about setting up his feeding routine. I was telling the owner today that it's real important for you to put down the bowl, give him a chance to eat for about 5-10 minutes. If he doesn't eat, you pull the food. Okay, I'm going to feed him 3 times a day. He's going to eat, right? But if he doesn't eat, he's going to learn that he's going to lose his food. I want a dog that eats healthy. I want him to gobble his food and just be a monster because that's the way they would eat in the wild. That's their whole digestive tract. Everything is used to that. Gorging on that kill, that they go out and get their kill. They bring down their kill. The pack all goes crazy and interacting with each other and dealing with that, and they get gorged. They gorge themselves, right? Then they sit around for a day or two, lazy. They finally, Mother Nature tells them they're hungry. They work their way, and finally they go out there, they hunt as a pack, right? Well, that digestion system is used to this whole pattern and routine. We want to kind of set that same thing up. So when I put the food down, I leave it out there for 10-15 minutes max, pull that food. Why? Because I want the dog to learn to wolf his food down, because that tells me right away if he's not feeling good. Because if he's got a bad day, he's not feeling good, I'm going to see the dog drop, and he's not going to be wolfing down his food like normal. All my dogs eat ravishingly. You know, it's a very natural thing for them because of how I built these patterns and routine and structure, right? The word structure is nothing more than telling you to establish patterns and routines with how you address the dog in your normal daily patterns, right? That's structure. And we have very consistent. The other thing is this crate. A lot of people don't understand that a crate fulfills the dog's psychological needs. It's because of the dog being a den animal. He feels very secure being covered. Do you ever notice when you have a young puppy, he always tends to see, if he has a little bit of fear, he's going to always kind of run away from them. He always tends to run underneath tables, things that have cover for him. Why do they do that? My theory, and what I feel, is it's a very natural instinct for God to give them that protection. Mother Nature gives them protection because they can't fight. What are they going to do? They're going to fight and they're going to hide. And they're going to stay underneath cover, something that covers them. Why? There's birds of prey out there. Those birds of prey will swoop down. So Mother Nature kind of does this right away for them. They have a lot more fear instinct when they're puppies, right? So we need to build them and have confidence and be able to deal with that fear that they may be feeling. So it's real important. And then you know how to bring the dog through this. So this is my introduction to Eros. I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. And as the next few days go along, I'm going to kind of catch some of the key points and highlight how I'm always talking about accenting, my accent points. And I'll use Eros as my accent points because a lot of this stuff I just do naturally and instinctively, and I don't think about it all the time. But because I do these videos and I want to kind of give you these pointers, it's something that's important to me. So I'll start hitting the stuff that I'm doing with a daily basis with him, right? So the first couple, 2-3 days, I'm going to be getting him into pattern and routine, right? And seeing how he does. And then once I sense that he's past the honeymoon period and he's starting to test me and then we'll get into some other issues and we'll talk about that as we go along. So as it comes at me, I will be trying to give it to you. So I thank you very much, guys. You guys have a good night. Mark Farashi with Protect Dog Training up here in the high desert dealing with this heat wave we're dealing with. It's been about 105. Today was a lot more humidity, a little bit overcast, and that heat broke a little bit, but it's still pretty hot. So I'm concerned with Eros in that regards and making sure we're keeping them hydrated. And I got some Pedialyte. I'm going to be letting them drink that a little bit and getting them used to that so we have that to kind of supplement his loss of fluids or lack of fluids because this heat's a lot more than a little puppy like this might be able to take. We'll talk about that, dehydration and some other things. Heat in the summer months is really something you guys should all be concerned with, and you should keep your dogs really hydrated. Keep your buckets and your bowls pinned to the wall so they can't get knocked over, so you don't have any accident. You come home and your dog's gone when you get home at the end of the day because you had a hot day. Make sure they got shade and cover, all that good stuff, right? And then we'll talk some things about heat exhaustion. It's an important time of year to be talking about some of these subjects. So we'll get into it in the next few sessions that I do on film, and I start yakking at the screen so you can learn a little bit. So I thank you very much. Have a good night. Mark Farashi, Protect Dog Training, signing off. Bye-bye.